Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, because we have a lot of new listeners, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Rob Spinoza of RPM Mortgage. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. And the vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. And today's trivia theme is presidential quotes. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And Mr. Kramer is recording us on for television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T Channel 99 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m.
But I have a face for radio.
You have a face for radio. There you go. Okay, now we have today in the on the phone we have a special guest, Gene Miller from Desert Gold Exchange. Gene, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Gene, Mark Hanf here. So your visit with us today is very timely because you being an expert in precious metals. How is the current government shutdown and the upcoming debt limit affecting gold and silver markets right now?
Well, there's really two effects. There's always a knee-jerk reaction that we see. We typically try to ignore those because gold can, one day it'll be up $20, next day it'll be down $20. Right now, today it's currently down $20, and silver's down 25 cents. I'm more concerned about the long-term implications as to what's going on. We got this government shutdown due to the fact that the Republicans don't want Obamacare. Well, I understand that. I mean, Obamacare, for those that don't have insurance, I get it. But this is going to have an overall effect on our economy. I'm just an average person with excellent health, and yet my premiums are going to go from $300 a month to $600 a month. And I've got a lot of clients that have told me the same thing. You couple that with the fact that you got 75% of the society, according to CNN, that are living paycheck to paycheck. Now you're going to increase the amount of things that they're going to have to spend money for. So this is going to add a big weight on the overall economy. Then you got the debt ceiling. We are going to raise our debt, whether we like it or not. We're going to continue raising our debt. So we're going to go from 17 trillion to 18 trillion to 19. Eventually, we're going to get farther and farther down the road. We keep kicking this can. And so the overall thing as we look down the road, what's this going to affect the gold market? I think it's going to affect it very positively. And so we try to, get people to not look at the immediate thing, but look at down the road, how am I going to protect myself when things really get bad, the dollar really becomes weak because of what they're doing today. It isn't always an immediate thing that happens. It's what happens down the road that we're concerned about.
So based on that, what's happening, Gene, you see, you're I guess you would say, you're bullish on the long-term outlook for gold?
Yeah, on the long term, yeah, absolutely. The last couple of years has been very bearish, but, I haven't sold anything because I'm looking at what we're doing today, how is it going to affect me 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's the dollar going to be like? I think that sooner or later we're going to lose our status as the world reserve currency. When we do, we're not prepared for that in this country. If you've ever had a chance to travel outside of this country, gasoline, different things like that have always been twice the price, and it's because everything's denominated in dollars. Well, if we lose that and it goes to the Chinese currency or some other basket of currencies, we're going to all of a sudden wake up and instead of paying $4 a gallon for gas, we're going to be paying $8 a gallon.
I don't even know how to spell the word yuan.
So, Gene, I've invested in precious metals funds, but what should people look out for when they're actually investing in the metal itself?
Spreads, and what I mean by spread, what's the difference between the wholesale and retail price of the coins? There's some companies out there that they're just really, really large spreads. That they don't. If they just listen to some endorser and they buy because some endorser told them to buy from company XYZ, they might get their head handed to them. So always ask the question: if I buy a coin today and I sell it to market tomorrow, and the market didn't move, how much am I going to get back?
That's a very good, honest question to ask.
Very specifically
yeah,
worded.
I like that very much. And in
So
fact,
that's the number one thing, and people just don't realize to ask that. They think, I'll just buy this, and, it sounds like a good deal because, so-and-so said to do it. You got to be very careful. Ask that.
So
what is the spread? What am I going to get back?
That, in effect, is a sort of appraisal, but not really. I mean, it's just a point-blank question on it. Yeah, exactly.
Say that again now?
So it's similar to an appraisal almost. What's the appraised value of that coin then?
Well, exactly. There's some things that, honestly, if you realize that there's companies out there that will sell stuff with a 40% markup.
Right.
And you go to sell it back, you're going to get, you spend $1,000, you get $600 back. That's a pretty big hiccup.
That's not so good. Well, let me ask you then, this is Edward. How much metals do you recommend in a person's portfolio?
Well, we do that on base, but we don't do it on a cookie cutter type of deal. If all things were equal, if we look at what happened in like 2008 when the markets began to crumble, the banking market crumbled, and the housing market, and the stock market took a big hickey there. What would it have taken in gold? Because gold was definitely going up during those times when those things were going down. The break-even point at that was 20%. Now, not everybody can put 20% of their assets into gold because some of these people that we're dealing with living off of their money. So you got to kind of look at it on a case-by-case basis. But at the most, probably 20%. Somewhere between 10 and 20%.
Hey, Gene, Mark here again. If I want to buy gold and I want to have some gold, let's say in my IRA, am I able to do that with one of my traditional IRAs that I may have with my bank or like a Merrill Lynch or Schwab, or do I need to have, do I need to have it in a self-directed account?
Well, with the company that you currently have, most of them, like Merrill Lynch or something, Charles Schwab used to do it, but they got out of it. So you're going to have to convert that over into a self-directed IRA that is designed to own gold with a custodian that allows you to own physical gold. And there are several of them out there that we deal with.
One of our favorites is IRA Services Trust Company in San Carlos. They have their fees are about the lowest.
I was just going to ask, because what's the fee structure on something like that? Because I imagine on every angle of it, there's a fee associated with it.
Yeah, I think there's about the
there's
lowest.
a custodial fee. And it depends on how you set these things up. If you set it up where the gold is stored for you in an outside depository, that can be as much as $160 a year, which covers the custodial and the storage. These also could be set up through an LLC where you get to store the gold yourself locally there. The fees generally end up running around $225 a year.
Okay, so
so it sounds like it's similar for those people who want to buy real estate in their IRA, or maybe do participate in private lending or mortgage investing. You need to have a self-directed IRA where you've got a lot more flexibility in what you invest in. And it sounds like for the gold products you recommend, you would recommend that they do so in a self-directed IRA.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
and most of my clients, we don't make any commission or anything on how they set this up as far as an IRA. We make our commission on selling them the gold. So we just do that as a service to them. But most of our clients go the route, kind of like what you're talking about with real estate, where they set up the self-directed IRA, they create an LLC to run this all through there, and that's how they buy their gold, is through that LLC that's part of their IRA.
Well, Gene, getting to the specifics, I've heard about obviously the gold eagles, maple leafs, and the Krugerrands. What do you feel is the best best form of gold to own?
Well, you're right. Not all gold is created equal. There are what most people are familiar with, bullion, which is like the gold eagles, the maples, and the Krugerrands. Then there's another category of gold which is called numismatic gold, and it's like your old $20 gold pieces. Personally, I like the $20 gold pieces because in the market that we're in right now, they always outperform bullion. So, for example, if gold goes up $1, a bullion coin is going to go up $1, whereas a numismatic coin typically go up about $1.50. So it's got a better upside potential. It doesn't always fall in the market like bullion does because nobody's dumping large amounts of numismatic coins onto the market, so it's a little more stable on that. The other thing is that it's completely private. If you buy it, you sell it, nobody's ever going to ask you for your social security number. And if the government ever did, like they did in the past, say, hey, we need you to turn in your gold, it's there. It's happened before. I don't know if it'll happen again, but if it did, numismatic gold is exempt. So it just has some definite perks that I like. Now, when we talk to our clients, we just kind of show them the whole gamut, give them the pros and cons of everything, and let them decide for themselves. our thing is here, we just try to educate people as to what's available, how to do it, what, the mechanics of it. And
Well, hey, Gene,
we really
do you
don't push them in one direction or another, but we show them what's available on the side for them.
Well, Gene, I was going to ask you, do you grade the coins yourself?
Oh,
Because I know
no.
there's differences.
Any of those type of coins are all graded third-party independent grading companies like PCGS or NGC who guarantees those coins so that the client's never going to be at risk if they buy something from us and they take it someplace else, they're going to get a big surprise that, well, it's not really what you
So,
want.
Gene, this is Rob. So that was my next question for you: is why Desert Gold Exchange? I mean, anybody that's out there they hear tons of ads about all this stuff, but why you guys instead of someone else or your competition?
Well, I think number one, we take great lengths to have a lot of integrity. We're a family-owned company. We're very, very big on making sure our clients are happy, that they are taken well care of. We don't surprise them with anything. We don't play this game, like when we talk about things to avoid. There's companies out there that might sell things for a little bit cheaper, but if you read the fine print, they're going to keep your money for 4 to 6 weeks, and they're going to play the market on you. We do not do that. You're going to have your coins within 72 hours. So it's
that's good.
better service, better prices, better integrity, and really that's what it boils down to.
Okay, hey, Gene, before we let you go, because we have to cut to a commercial break, how do people get a hold of you? You sound like a decent company to deal with.
Our phone number is 888-852-4343, and they can also reach us on the web at dgegold.com.
Very good. Gene Miller from Desert Gold Exchange, thank you very much for educating us about gold.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you
so much
for having us on.
All right, we are going to cut to our first commercial break here, and again, the theme is presidential quotes. And here's the first one. Which president said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country"? Not a very good accent by me, but that's okay. I just don't have that Boston accent. Okay, the first 3 callers with the correct answer won a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which president said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country"? Almost sounds like Bill Clinton, but that wasn't the right one. 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one at a time. Don't touch that dial, because when the best of investing comes right back, we've got some interesting emails to answer.
I'm fascinated by the gold thing, to be quite honest. It was one of my best investment plays was getting into a precious metals fund back in 2003. And I remember when I did it. Yeah, the guy that I worked for at the time, he's like, gold's, I think he said like $400 an ounce. Don't you think it's a little expensive?
It used to be 800, and then it went down.
Right.
Yeah. What's it now? 16, 18?
Yeah.
No.
It's the 13, 14, something like that.
13, 14.
I mean, I was withdrawing out of that fund in the lean years, 2007, 2008, with some consistency, because that thing was spinning off a lot of gains, and I was like,
thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I got so bold after that move that I almost invested a ton of money in Sirius. So I was glad I didn't do that. I'm like, yeah, I got this thing.
Isn't that the country that's having problems right now?
Yeah, right. No, that's XL. Yeah, I got so confident from that. I was like, I got this thing figured out. I'm a good investor.
Yeah, that's the first time. Listen, I did that when I was 20. Made a little killing, and then Uber's got a little greedy, and
you're
said,
like, I've got the Midas touch, right?
Yeah. I don't know everything. Do I? Let's see. Emails we received. Rob, we received one for you. It says, "I'd never heard of RPM before this program. How safe is it to refinance?"
It's not.
Okay.
And Mark, I've heard you mention that you loan on as-is instead of ARV. Can you expand on that? Why? Cool. Okay. Are you red-eye?
Rolling. All right, Captain.
Ready, Dave.
Ready.
Welcome back. back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money and Rob Spinoza of RPM Mortgage. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this presidential quote trivia question. Which president said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country"?
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy.
That's John
of
F.
course.
Kennedy.
That is correct.
Anybody who doesn't know that needs to go back and take their citizenship test.
That's right. Yeah, good point. Okay, Rob, we received an email for you that says, "I've never heard of RPM Mortgage before this program. How safe is it to refinance with them?"
Oh, okay. Incredibly safe to refinance with us. RPM is a very large non-depository mortgage lender here, headquartered here in California in the Bay Area, Alamo to be precise. Been in business since the early 80s. Family started operation, and our motto, "Can do, will do," is pretty much lived up and down the chain. It's really a great company to work for. We have a lot of very stable, very strong correspondent relationships. We also have a direct line and direct endorsement with Fannie Mae and direct endorsement with the FHA. And so there have been no stability issues with our company throughout all of the years, boom and bust years. And we continue to originate many billion dollars worth of mortgages every year. It is safe to refinance with us. I will also add it's still a very good time to refinance. Rates are higher than they were back in the spring, but realize we're going into a period of time at the beginning of 2014 that will be regulated with greater scrutiny by the Dodd-Frank bill and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So if you have an opportunity now, you've got very good rates still. You have a lot of the credit qualifying criteria that we've become accustomed to, and you also have home appreciation. So you rarely see all of those things line up at the same time. If you have a good refi opportunity, still a good time to look at it.
So Rob, RPM, it's you guys are your own mortgage bank. So how do you differ from, say, if I wanted to go to B of A, Wells, City, or Chase for a home loan?
The primary way we differ is that because we have various correspondent channels, we have various investors. So for any given product, we have a selection of investors that are pricing that loan. So whereas when you go to a single entity, a Wells Fargo or a Bank of America, they're offering their product at their price. If it's competitive that day, you're in luck. If it's not, they don't have an option to go to another investor within their own control and deliver that loan. And we do. So for example, we may have 5 or 6 investors. We don't relinquish control of that loan. So I remain your point of contact, and I'm the accountable person throughout the start to finish, but we also have the variety in pricing which could afford you a better interest
Your
rate.
paperwork is the same as the bank, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a general misconception about paperwork that if you walk down to your local branch, they're going to give you some sweetheart deal and you won't have to prove anything. And I think that most loans originated these days.
True.
Exactly. So most loans originated these days are fully documented loans. That generally implies tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, etc.
Proof of income.
Proof of income. So,
The funny thing is if I'm the borrower, once I have the money from you,
right.
I don't care that much about you.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
the guy who has to make sure I can make the payments to you. I just want to make sure that you're going to give me a good deal.
And that's actually a very interesting component of the Dodd-Frank bill. It's what's known as the ability to repay component of it. And that is where the lender is now going to be making a judgment call on your future ability to repay that loan. So it's going to get quite interesting as to how they're going to draw those lines.
If I smile nice and show my pearly whites.
I thought the guy was going to pay the loan.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Doesn't quite work that way anymore. It won't. But,
Okay.
So bank where you want to bank and borrow from who gives you the best program.
Yeah, we really do have a sweet spot in California lending, and I believe we offer a great service to our clients. Combination of factors that make us right there in the middle of what.
Now, aren't you guys one of, if not the largest non-bank
We
lender
are.
in the Bay Area?
Yeah, we are. We do a ton of business throughout California and the Bay Area.
And how do people get a hold of you?
Easiest way is to just go right on the Best in Investing website, and my bio is there, but you can also certainly call me direct at 415-367-5959. I work out of the Mill Valley office, and always happy to help.
Very good.
Yeah.
And you'll deal with people all over the Bay Area.
Absolutely, all over California.
They don't just have to be in Mill Valley.
They've got to walk into my office.
Yeah, that's right.
I got to look them up and down, remember?
Yeah,
Ability to repay.
Right.
No, that's a joke. But
One of these days, don't laugh.
Yeah, right.
Did you actually meet physically the borrower.
And did you take blood?
Right, exactly.
Well, in one form or
That's
another.
next.
And don't give any ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All
I
right.
hope Mr. Dodd and Frank are not listening.
Not listening. Please don't listen. Turn your radio off.
Exactly.
Okay, Mark, we received an email that this person says, I have heard you mention on the show that you loan on an, quote, as-is basis instead of a, quote, ARV basis. What does that mean? Can you expand on that?
What does that mean? So, so for your listeners, I'm Mark Hoff, president of Pacific Private Money. We are one of the premier private money lenders to real estate investors in Northern California. And so we specialize in making loans that the banks don't make. And the banks right now, for the last 5 years, have not been making many loans to real estate investors. So if you're a real estate investor, you know someone who likes to buy, fix, and flip property, or maybe buy property for rental income, for long-term hold, or maybe owns existing property that has equity and they want to borrow against it. More often than not, if you go to any of the banks, they'll say no for lots of different reasons, primarily just because they're making lots of money right now doing consumer home loans. They don't need to serve that market right now, and they have not been since 2008 when the subprime meltdown occurred. So the listener's question was, we hear that you make loans based on the as-is value, not the ARV. And what ARV stands for is after repaired value, or also known as the future value. And what that means is that a lot of our borrowers come to us and they say, wow, I've got this great deal on this property. Maybe it's a short sale or a bank-owned property. And I'm going to fix it up and I'm going to sell it for a profit. So maybe they're buying it for $200,000. They're going to put $25,000 or $50,000 into it. And based on their homework, they believe they're going to be able to sell it for $400,000. Again, those metrics are not unusual. That's we do a lot of lending in the East Bay, and I have a lot of clients who come to me and they're buying a home for $200,000 or $250,000, putting in a repair budget and turning around and selling it for $400,000 or $450,000. And so, oftentimes a borrower will come to me and say, "Hey, can you make me a 70% loan, but based on the future value, not the price that I'm paying for it?" So, in other words, they'd be saying, "Can you make me a loan based on the $450,000 future value?" Which oftentimes, if I were to make a loan at 70% of the future value, I'd be making them basically 100% financing on the cost.
Exactly. No.
So the answer to that is no, we don't. And there are some private lenders out there that are in that market of making future value-based loans. But I got to tell you right now that there aren't many, and a lot of them don't stay in business very long because it's risky.
And they're very expensive.
Well,
and they're very expensive. Yeah, you think hard money is expensive in and of itself at 10% 3 points, which is our average cost. Try paying 12% 5 points and maybe a 50-50 split.
That's all the numbers. What I was
going
going to add to that is that's something I hear myself saying to borrowers very frequently, is that it may be possible to get a loan out of the common guidelines, in this case the private money loan, but if you do, buyer beware, because you're now dealing with a select group of people who will make that loan under their own terms, and it's not commonplace, so you've got to be prepared for the terms they're going to set.
No, you do, and so the rule of thumb is that the higher percentage you borrow of the total budget, total budget being the purchase price, the remodeling price, and the holding costs for maybe that 6-month term that you're going to buy, fix, and flip. You add all that together, that's your total budget. That's the total budget to buy, fix, and flip that property. You can get 100% financing, but you got to be prepared to pay the lion's share of the profit to that lender. Whereas if you can go out and find your own equity through family money or a friend, you want to partner up, and then you want to go and take that money and leverage it with a conservative private money loan at say 70% of the purchase price, with no funds for remodeling or any of the gap financing, the gap being the down payment financing, you're going to get more reasonably priced hard money. So again, the higher the percentage you go, the more expensive the money is, which is akin to basically saying there's no free lunch. The higher the percentage you go, the more expensive the money gets.
And it takes price competition out of the market because there's fewer people competing for that business, and therefore they can charge the price that they get.
Absolutely.
So Mark, how do people get a hold of you?
So at Pacific Private Money, it's pacificprivatemoney.com if you fancy that, or call us at 415-883-2150. Call us if you're interested in more information about how you can borrow privately, but also call us if you're interested in learning how you can earn 8% or more by being a private lender. Earn 8% or more on your savings and IRA monies. Again, that's Pacific Private Money at 415-883-2150, or visit our website at pacificprivatemoney.com.
Or you go to bestofinvesting.com, you'll see Mark right there. Okay, before we cut to our second commercial break, we are having another special trivia contest where the winner is going to receive a beautiful 2-night stay at the Seal Cove Inn in Half Moon Bay. So relax, rejuvenate, and refresh. Treat yourself to the coastal casual place of life at the Seal Cove Inn, where you'll start your day with a wonderful farm-to-table 3-course breakfast and end it with a fireside glass of local wine paired with deliciously crafted small bites. Enjoy the beauty and culture of San Francisco or stroll around quaint Half Moon Bay. Just a short walk from the secluded highway to the many trails that take you through the majestic forest of century-old pine and eucalyptus trees. Your breath will be taken by the view from the bluffs overlooking the magnificent Pacific Ocean on Moss Beach coast. Seal Cove Inn, check them out. You can also be playing and lounging at the beach in minutes and be right down at the water's edge exploring the tide pools or just enjoying a spectacular sunset. Check them out at sealcoveinn.com. Okay, here's the second commercial break, second trivia question. Which president said, "Walk softly and carry a big stick"? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which president said, "Walk softly and carry a big stick"? Again, call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, speak slowly, spell it out 1 letter at a time. Don't touch that dial, because mortgage investing is going to come right back, and we're going to talk about what's going on with the government shutdown and how that's affecting things. Okay.
Good minute.
Now, those 2 segments were a little longer than normal.
Yeah, they felt
okay.
longer. That's why we'll shorten them up.
So what I was saying is that Eva is going to be coming in.
Oh, Eva.
That's what
I was trying to figure.
Sorry, I hope I didn't
ring
distract you.
No.
I think. Yeah.
I was ignoring you completely.
I didn't know if you meant.
Just
Something's
like
gonna
everybody.
ring.
I thought he'd been in the military maybe because he was doing all the hand signals.
I thought he was going like this.
Yeah.
I want to, after the show.
Sorry, we have a mission.
I try to do that before the show. It helps start the day off.
Yeah, right.
Hold on 2 seconds.
We're not on
I gotta go pee. We are.
Great. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, you'll get a
Yes.
kick out of this.
Yep.
I wrote a pre-approval letter over the weekend, and it was one of those ones where buyer had been going back and forth in the 500 price range. And I'm out there working on the yard, and I got the phone, and I get an email on Sunday, and it's like, "I found a place, $499. Can we write an offer on it, addresses, whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, it'll work," because I just did an analysis at 540, and you're cool. So
Yeah.
go in there, real quickly write the letter, go back to doing whatever. Property goes into contract Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Property goes into contract Tuesday morning. Yesterday, I'm putting the whole deal together. I get the borrower locked in. I go to order the appraisal, and then I'm like, you know what? Just as I was kind of setting it up, I get the email from escrow with the title report. I'm like, all right, look at that. And lo and behold, sold on August 9th. Agents didn't tell me anything. It's a flip, and it's within 90 days, and it's greater than a 20% increase in price.
Oh,
And the borrower is getting 85% financing, so it would not be a problem if she was at 80 and we did 2 appraisals, right? We'd be fine. But the fucking agents didn't say anything. Not even
It's a flip. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And I mean, normally I pull a property profile when I write the pre-approval letter just to see are there HOA dues.
Right.
You want to make sure nothing blows through HOA. But I missed it on that time, and lo and behold, it's a flip. So now I'm scrambling today to get it replaced. But poor borrowers, first-time buyer doesn't know.
Right. Doesn't understand.
Just doesn't understand all this
nuances, right.
lingo. Like,
Thinks it's your fault.
No,
You
she
call
actually
her.
is good, but you know, I'm like,
Okay, well, I'll get into this here, and then you guys can take it from there, okay?
sure.
Sure. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark On and Robert Spinoza. When we asked the second trivia question, commercial break, which president said, "Walk softly and carry a big stick"?
That's TR.
TR, Teddy Roosevelt. That is correct. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask the special trivia question, and that is, almost half of us won't do this for financial reasons. Now, what is it? Now, here are the rules. You have to email edward@bestofinvesting.com by midnight tonight, and next week I'll announce randomly from the people who give us the correct answer, and we'll announce that next week. Okay, I saw an article that was talking about real estate recovery at risk because of the fact that the government is shut down. And basically what it seems to effectively has to do with is people wanting to either buy or refinance a house, and the magic thing that they can't get is the transcript from the IRS.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I'd be happy to comment on this because we were talking earlier before about how loans are now fully documented. The vast majority of them are. Well, one of the things that happens, and borrowers don't know this, it goes on behind the scenes, but they provide their tax returns to the lender, and then the lender has them execute an IRS Form 4506T, and that is a request for transcript. So what the lender then does, they have a choice. They are supposed to be putting the executed document in the file. That's the first thing, but most of them, in an overabundance of caution, have begun executing these. So they get the file in, they get the signed 4506, and then they go to the IRS and they actually pull the transcript. And they match that up with the tax return that the borrower has provided the lender. And it has to match line by line, otherwise they've got an issue. Well, now you've got a situation where you got a backlog on those 4506s, so lenders can't get them. And the end result of all that is that if they make a loan and there is a discrepancy between the returns and the 4506, that lender is repping and warranting, or representing and warranting, that that loan is what they say it is to the end investor, downriver, whoever that might be, Fannie Mae or some other. And so if that 4506 later comes back with a discrepancy, that person could then force that lender to buy the loan back. And now the lender has an unsaleable loan.
But everybody's always honest.
Well, in that environment, utopia, so it's not even the honesty element of it. Clearly here it's just the fear of having a buyback or a putback.
Well, let's put it this way. Years ago, we would actually prepare tax returns, and people would take those tax returns to the bank, and they didn't ask for the 4506.
Right.
So they were just trusting that the tax returns
That was
were
before
correct.
software became so easy to change the numbers around. I've got the tax return for the IRS and the tax return for the
Yeah.
Well, one of the other interesting things about that is back in the heyday of stated income loans, one of the little things that you would see on a lender's rate sheet if they were a stated income lender is no 4506, because obviously you're not providing your tax return to the lender because it's a stated income loan. But if they pull the 4506 and you're saying you make 20 grand a month, and the IRS shows your total income as 2,000 for the year, you got a problem. But
I've got a few borrowers like that.
But they were touting the no 4506 as an attractive feature of the loan itself. So
what's really sad is we actually tried to fax in a 4506 last week, and the fax numbers are all the numbers are all off. So you can't actually
not even busy.
so next week, presumably when all this is settled, whether temporarily or not.
What's that done for you?
Yeah, so what I was just going to say, I would add that we are right now, RPM is still funding loans on a majority of our products, and our most widely used products are service retained loans. We are funding those loans with an executed 4506 from the borrower. And so as long as the borrower provides that, and they will, as part of their loan documentation, we'll fund that loan. It gets a little dicier on self-employed borrowers, or when you have 5 to 10 properties financed, because those are higher risk situations where that 4506 is more critical.
I'm thinking though, if I'm the average borrower and I'm signing this form under penalty of perjury,
correct.
That I'm probably going to be pretty honest
if you read the document. But yeah, now that it's one of the good things about all this press about it is that people are recognizing, hey, this really happens, and the lender they go and they basically audit my tax return.
Yeah,
So,
but there's a lot of there's a lot of people out there who can't get loans right now.
Yeah.
But RPM can still give them a loan.
We're still making, and lenders have been changing their position on this as the shutdown has evolved too. So at first, a lot of lenders were taking a hardline stance where we'll wait and see. We don't know what we're going to do. But clearly, as this thing has worked itself out or not, as we go further into it, lenders have started taking a position on this. And they're willing to. It's not across all products. You still have to contact your loan officer to be sure. We pulled, for example, on a lot of the files that I have in my pipeline, we pulled those 4506s before the shutdown. Just with the inkling that the government could shut down, we pulled every 4506 that we had here.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, and we're not taking that chance on those. Right.
So this must really be, just hammering the mortgage
Doesn't
loan
help.
origination
Doesn't help.
industry. I mean, I pulled a blog article off on how, the title of it says "Mortgage Origination Tanks." You always love the line that if it bleeds, it leads, right? But it talked about that refinances are down 70%, and as a result, since that was a significant portion of many loan originators' volume, that and it's understandably down. I mean, we've had successive waves of lower and lower and lower mortgage rates that bottomed out about 3.5 earlier this year, maybe 6 months ago, and
Back
now
in
we're
May.
up to 5.5, or I'm sorry, 4.5, 4.75.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the folks that were thriving, a lot of the mortgage loan originators that were thriving.
Well, there are
companies.
whole businesses and banks that base their model on refinances, so obviously they've got a lot of ground to make up.
And then you add this, where we've got now 2 weeks where we've got a stalled process. And I know there were a lot of articles in the local papers and national papers recently saying, how is this going to affect the real estate market? And again, I think the real estate market generally is a longer term type of market, meaning that short term influences don't normally have immediate effects on the market. So so a 2-week government shutdown, is that really going to impact or is it going to be more of a blip in real estate and investing and purchasing? I think it's more of a blip, but let's just say that certainly if it's not a blip, if you're a consumer in the middle of buying a house,
That's right.
and all
That's
of a
right.
sudden
That's a
it gets,
very painful.
right.
one.
So there will be people who will have lost hard deposits
Right.
because of their inability to close from sellers. There will be real estate investors who are trying to purchase property that were in a short contract who, for whatever reason related to this government shutdown, could not close, and they will lose money. So there will be losses, and it's really too bad that politicians have been playing.
But actually, both of your businesses theoretically should be doing well during this, because if people, you guys with your special type of financing that you can do, where you say, well, we'll still do a 4506,
Right.
And for those people
hard
who are on
money
short lived is great.
But you also have, I mean, anything that adds in another headwind into the market, to me, I view, I'd rather not see that happen. And we also here in the Bay Area, we take a very Bay Area centric view to things. But if you're trying to get a USDA loan, for example, in other parts of the country, you're out of luck.
Is that to buy meat?
That's right. You use it. You go to the supermarket and. But no, seriously, if you go to get a USDA loan, they're completely they're shut down. I mean, there is no progress being made.
Can you explain what a USDA loan?
You have to be in a designated rural area. You don't have to be a farmer, for example.
Again,
but
with the
you got
USDA.
right. Your property has to be in a designated rural area.
Okay.
You know.
All right, guys. We're going to cut to our third and final commercial break, and I just want to clarify something because I think I may have not said this correctly.
As if everything we've said here has been crystal clear.
Of course. Okay. So the special trivia contest question for the Seal Cove Inn was the one that says almost half of us won't do this for financial reasons. Okay, that's the question for the Seal Cove Inn.
Still don't know
The Teddy Roosevelt one was for the Lighthouse Resort. Okay, because I want to make sure that the audience knows that. Okay, now here's our third and final commercial break trivia question. Which president said, "You won't have me to kick around anymore"? The first three callers with the correct answer to that question are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Rob is quickly looking at his internet.
No.
Hands up. We want to see those hands. Okay. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which president said, "You won't have me to kick around anymore"? Make sure to include your name, email address. Speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial because the best of investing will be right back. Oh, I'm not a crook.
Oh, you got that one down
I
pretty
am
well.
not.
Did you see the Oliver Stone movie?
With Frost or something?
Yeah.
The Nixon Frost.
No, it wasn't.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, no, maybe it was Nixon Frost. Yeah, maybe that was a pretty good movie.
I didn't see it. I just.
It was a good movie.
I just guessed.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
There's one with John Cusack and the Butler, which was pretty good.
I think it was Frost Nixon.
Yeah, that's the only one with Nixon in it. That's the only movie they let him be
He's
in.
back in this like room of the hotel. He's getting ready to give a speech, and he's drunk, and he's grumbling and whatever. And then the next scene, the doors flip open, and he walks out with a big smile. That was it. And I don't remember the guy. I mean, he was he was at office when I was a young boy. But
Nixon was at my house.
Really?
Before it was my house. Used
Over
to be
Linda?
in San Rafael here.
No.
It used to be owned by a senator.
Oh, really?
Liberace, Nixon, and Reagan.
Wow.
I don't know who else, but those were the main.
I hear Nixon though for all the things that, people said bad about him. The guy was, I heard, real sharp guy. I mean,
He was not a dummy.
He was shrewd, and he apparently he made his seed money for his campaign by playing poker.
Really?
Yeah, he
I
was
didn't hear it.
in the Navy, or in the I think he was in the Navy. When he was in the service, he beat the hell out of people in poker, and that's where he got all his money. It funded his first campaign.
Yeah, only 6:58 left. Short one, guys. Anything you want to cover specifically?
I got a couple of things, but we've already sort of talked about this stuff. This one that I found really interesting, I printed it out. Housing's big thorn, student loan debt. The CFPB is saying that's an economic drag on first-time home buyers.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about it, but you guys heard it?
Student loan. I had an article about it way back when, probably, gosh, a couple months ago. I probably still have it, but it is. That's true. It is.
And then this one brings up an interesting article. It talks about how Mark Zandi and this guy Jim Parrott found that coming out of the credit bust or the real estate bust, having a 750 credit score means a lot more than it did going into it, and yet that credit score now doesn't get you as far as it did before. And he said if you could just simply bring those buyers back into the market with their 720s and their 710s now, how that would add.
Let's talk about that a little bit because
Yeah,
I've got
He said easing lending standards to return credit scores to pre-bubble levels would boost home sales by around 450,000 units.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe something to talk about.
That sounds good. Here we go.
That sounds good.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt, president of Pacific Private Money, and Rob Spinoza of RPM Mortgage. When we cut to the third commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Which president said, "You won't have me to kick around anymore"? And he also said, "I am not a crook."
Tricky Dick Nixon.
Tricky Dick Nixon, that is correct. And Rob, how did he make all of his money, apparently?
Nixon was a knockdown, drag-out poker player. I heard when he was in the service, and he funded a lot of his.
He just couldn't bluff his way out of Watergate.
he made a lot of money beating up on other soldiers, and then he funded his first campaign with the proceeds from his money.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, you have an interesting article you want to share.
Yeah, in the Wall Street Journal, it was talking about how tighter mortgage standards are holding back the recovery, and I know we've bandied that topic about a lot here on the show. But this specific article, paper was written by Jim Parrott of the Urban Institute and Mark Zandi. Most people will recognize his name in respect to real estate. But what they say is that going into the credit bust and the housing bust, FICO scores meant one thing, and now post, those borrowers who have come away from that and still maintained a good credit score, relatively speaking, that means more. But yet lenders have increased their scrutiny of borrowers and increased their credit standards. So their position on this is that if we could return credit scores to their pre-bubble levels, that home sales would increase by about 450,000 units. And that could decrease the unemployment rate by about 0.4%. I think that's a pretty interesting concept.
Well, it's interesting because I actually heard also separately in another radio article about how and I don't know if this article that you brought shows it, but the average FICO recent closures is like up to 740.
Oh, it's crazy. I did the analysis on my borrowers from 2012, and I want to say it was over 760. I think it was 763, which is incredibly high. I mean, you do see some 800s out there, but I remember, pre-2008, it was not uncommon to approve borrowers with 660s and 680s and things like that. And the average FICO back then was, was pretty close to that range too. So,
and what does it take to go from 680 to 7?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you've got, 35% of your FICO score is your ability to pay things on time. So basically, what is your credit history? Have you paid your bills on time and according to term? And then the next one, another 30% of that is your balance to limit. So if you came away from the bust with a lot of debt and you're still servicing on that credit, servicing that on your credit cards at a high percentage of your limit, that's going to hold your score down significantly. So if you can reduce that, then clearly those two things right there, paying on time and paying down, will help.
Yeah, in fact, one of the best tricks I learned on how to boost your credit score is to keep all of your credit cards debt limits below 30%.
Yeah. So
which is not easy to do, depending, because most of us don't have the credit card limits we used to have.
Right.
If we use them for our business, you got to pay that down right away, and you want to make sure it doesn't go over 30%.
I also think that there's this, a lot of people have this intuition that they want to avoid credit, and what they'll do is they'll go and they'll destroy their credit cards or they'll cancel credit cards. That actually hurts them because it removes their history, and it also removes the FICO model's ability to determine their payment history and performance over time. So you have to be careful with that.
It's better to have debt and not use it.
Right.
Cards. That's absolutely true. Well, it's interesting you say, tighter mortgage standards are holding back the recovery. Here we're sitting here going, okay, well, what's going to happen to real estate in 2014?
Right.
And an article that I saw, a blog article, it said affordability housing in California plummets. Again, another, if it leads headline. But it's saying that, and again, they didn't provide a whole lot of statistical to back this up, but it says 36% of California residents were able to afford the median priced home in the second quarter of 2013, compared with 51% during the same period last year. So what's the median price? The median price, of course, has gone up quite a bit in California. In some markets, 25%. So that would appear obvious, but certainly the average person's income has not gone up 25%. So we've got housing prices going back up again. Then we've got all these new regulations that are supposed to go into effect January 1.
Further restricting access.
Restricting access to leverage. So unless you happen to be a cash buyer with a mattress full of money out there, it's going to be daunting, I think, looking ahead to how real estate is going to fare in 2014. So, I don't know, if I were a betting man, I wouldn't be betting on another 20% increase in real estate prices or even another 10%.
Well, all cash purchases represented 45% of all residential sales in August, up from 39% in July.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's
That's
an
Because the
amazing
banks
stat.
aren't closing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow. All right, guys, any last words before we get into our thoughts for the day?
Yes, I want to announce.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Pacific Private Money Fund is having a fund launch party in Mill Valley on November 6th. That's Wednesday, November 6th.
Oh, okay.
Wednesday, November 6th at 6 p.m. at the Piatti Restaurant in Mill Valley.
Good for you guys.
We've got, we should have close to 100 people there to meet the Pacific Private Money staff, and you can meet the Best of Investing co-host there as well. And we're going to talk about mortgage investing and introduce people to our new mortgage pool
And
fund.
how do people RSVP?
Call our office at 415-883-2150.
It's a free party for
Nice little place, too.
Go to PacificPrivateMoney.com for more information.
All right. Thoughts for the day. Holding a grudge is letting someone live rent-free in your head.
Yeah.
Isn't that true? And I always give 100% at work. 13% on Monday, 22% on Tuesday, 26% on Wednesday, 35% on Thursday, and only 4% on Friday. Yeah, that totals 100%. Okay, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.